The black cloud from the east. Siener van Rensburg saw a massive black cloud forming in the east and rolling slowly across the world toward the west. This cloud brought with it destruction, confusion, fear, and great upheaval. The cloud was not a natural weather phenomenon, but a symbol of divine judgment and global tribulation. It emerged from the east and moved westward, engulfing nation after nation. As it advanced, people were seized with terror and disarray, and darkness covered the lands, both physically and spiritually. He described this cloud as not only political or military, but as something spiritual in nature, suggesting a kind of oppression or deception. The cloud was seen to weaken the spiritual defenses of the Western world, which was unprepared for its arrival. He understood this vision to represent a purging or shaking permitted by God to awaken or judge the peoples of the earth. Eastern powers rising. In connection with this vision, Van Rensburg foresaw the rise of great powers in the East. These powers were aggressive and antagonistic toward the Christian West. While he did not name specific nations, the source of the cloud was unmistakably from the East, and it spread through Europe and the Western nations. He saw these Eastern powers gaining influence over weakened Western societies, where faith had declined and moral decay was widespread. He foresaw that ideologies or forces foreign to Christianity would gain strength, emerging with political power, religious zeal, or totalitarian ambition. These powers would disrupt the established order and challenge the freedoms of Christian civilization. Van Rensburg warned that the East would be allowed by God to rise as a form of chastisement, until the West either repented or was further humbled. Spiritual and moral collapse in the West. Van Rensburg saw the West crumbling inwardly before it was ever attacked from the outside. In his visions, he noted the decline of faith, the loss of spiritual clarity, and a growing apathy or blindness among Western nations. These nations, once strong in their Christian identity, had become vulnerable to foreign ideologies and morally weakened. He warned that as this dark cloud approached, many in the West were spiritually asleep, unable to recognize the signs of the times. Their churches had grown cold, their leaders were distracted or deceived, and the masses were preoccupied with materialism. The darkness from the East was not only military or economic, it was allowed because the West had abandoned its foundations. The shaking and purification of the nations. Van Rensburg prophesied that the movement of this dark cloud across the globe would result in a shaking of nations. He saw that entire societies would be destabilized, with wars, revolutions, famines, and unrest erupting. This time of shaking was not meaningless. It was to separate the wheat from the chaff, to purify and refine those who truly sought the truth. In his vision, there was a remnant preserved, those who remained faithful during this time of darkness. These would be awakened and strengthened by the tribulation, while others would fall into deeper confusion. Van Rensburg saw this global upheaval as a preparation for the return of Christ, and that only after this time of trial would there be peace and restoration. The threat of foreign invasion and war. Van Rensburg also foresaw military conflicts, including the possibility of a large-scale war initiated from the East. Though the dark cloud was spiritual, it was accompanied by physical destruction. Nations in flames, cities bombed, and refugees fleeing across borders. He envisioned foreign troops advancing into Europe, and in some visions the Islamic crescent was visible, symbolizing a religious component to the invasion. He spoke of violence spilling into Western lands, especially where faith had already died out. The invading forces were driven not only by conquest, but by an ideological or religious fervor, which he recognized as foreign to Christian truth. These forces would clash with the remnants of Christian faith in the West, setting the stage for a great confrontation.